Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you live from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I'm going to just dilly-dally around for just a few more minutes just to make sure we get some people in here so I don't have to repeat myself. So if you'll just bear with me for just a second, we'll get some people in this show. I don't want to repeat anything I say. I've got a lot of things I need to relay to you. And so it would be very, very much to everybody's satisfaction if I got some people in here before I actually started with the brunt of our program. Folks, things are happening around the world. I'm going to tell you that right up front. Things are happening all around the world. And we can't ignore them. We cannot ignore them because if we do, our lives depend on whether we know the information or we don't. That's the bottom line. Do we know the information or don't we? And what are we going to do with the information once we have it? That's a question I often ask myself. What am I going to do with the information once I have it? Naturally, I'm going to analyze information, assess where we're at, and then try to get to where we want to be. And that's what I'm asking each one of you. I'm asking each one of you to try to get to where you want to be. Okay? That's the bottom line. Get to where we want to be so we can be safe, so we can help each other, so we can help our children, our grandchildren, help our neighbors and friends. Because frankly, guys, things are so bad right now. It's going to be either a drop of a button, a press of a red button, or worse, a major event that's going to take us by surprise and everybody's going to be in peril. That's the last thing we want to have happen. We don't want anybody to be in peril at all. Okay? I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. I don't want to be in peril, and I don't think any of you want to be in peril either. That's not where we want to be. That's not where we want to go. Now, frankly, I want to make sure all of you are there as well. That's why we have this program. This is a program where we talk about emergencies and disasters, and then we talk about what we need to do to prepare for them to save our lives. That's the bottom line. Now, nothing I want to say now in this program or any other program is meant to scare anybody, but it's meant to give you information of things that you need to do, things that you might need to assess where you're at, and what you need to do about the information we're going to give you. So guys, I'm going to repeat some of the things we talked about this morning. I would ask that everybody stand by and actually get to where you want to be. Get to where you want to be. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about an earthquake that hit yesterday morning at 1:37 a.m. Okay? This is off the coast, the southeast coast of Kamchatka Peninsula. Okay? This is at least a 7.0 earthquake. Now, I went back to the back seismologist study page on USGS, and all I got was gobbledygook. They don't want anybody to know what's actually going on, so they put up any old information they want us to have, which is nothing. Okay? I've shown you the back seismology study page before. It does not even show an earthquake, even close to 6.8, nothing even close to 7.0. Nothing. But that's exactly what this earthquake was. It was at least a 7.0, and I dare say even a 7.4 magnitude earthquake, and I'm going to show you why in a few minutes. Okay? But this happened at 1:37 a.m. Sunday morning. Now let's go back to Thursday. Let's go back to Thursday. Okay? Thursday morning. Okay? Early Thursday morning. We had a major earthquake. Actually, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, we had a major earthquake. Okay? This earthquake was a 9.4 magnitude earthquake. USGS said it was a 7.8. Okay? Prior to that, just a week prior to that, we had had a 7.4 earthquake. 7.0 to 10.0 and on are considered major earthquakes. Okay? But that was a 7.4. Prior to that 7.4, we had a bunch of 4s and 5s. 4.5, 4.7, 4.8, 5.0, 5.2, and 5.4 earthquakes. As it turns out, those were all foreshocks. Those were all foreshocks. Then we got the 7.4, and then we got aftershocks of that. All of those earthquakes turn out to be a foreshock of things to come. A foreshock of that 8.8, 9.0, 10, 9.4 earthquake. All those previous earthquakes that we had southeast of the Kamchatka Peninsula were foreshocks. After the 8.8 hit, we've had aftershocks. I'm going to show you aftershocks of this quake in just a few minutes. This is an aftershock here. This 6.8, 7.0 is an aftershock. Okay, an aftershock. Let me show you a bunch more. I think you're going to be amazed at what we show you. Look at this. There are a total of 41 earthquakes here. 41 earthquakes and 16 5.0 and large earthquakes. 16 5.0 and large earthquakes. The largest in this case was a 6.8, 7.0. All the others here are anywhere from 4.8 to 5.2, 5.3 earthquakes. That's what each of these lavender balls are. Okay? 5.0 to 5.3 earthquakes. Every one of these are foreshocks. Aftershocks of the 8.8, 9.0, 9.4 earthquake that we had. Every one of these are aftershocks. Okay? This is still a major event that's happening. Now, as I explained before, when all this was building up, I said that because of the strength of this quake, because of the very strong magnitude of this quake, we might see aftershocks for weeks, months, and even years. And that's what we're going to see here. As I said the other day, after this major quake happened, this was a plate rupture. This was a plate rupture. In this area, we have the Asia-European plate on the west side, and we have the Pacific plate on the east side, just like this, with the Pacific plate subducting underneath the Asian-European plate. Okay? Now, when this plate earthquake happened, it was a complete plate rupture. The plate broke. The plate broke. A complete plate rupture here. Okay? What does that mean? What does that mean? Number one, the plate is broken. Number two, this was such a major earthquake. Such a major earthquake that the land around it is going to continue to ache. The land around it is still going to try to find its place before the earthquake happened. The earth around this major quake is going to still try to find the place where it was before the major earthquake happened. That is what is causing all of these aftershocks. Okay? Then there's something else that happened. Right after that 8.8, we had a major volcanic eruption. The Kliuchevskoye volcano erupted, and it's still erupting. Then yesterday morning, we had the 6.8, 7.0 quake again. Okay? We had the 6.8, 7.0 earthquake that hit. With that earthquake that hit, we had another volcanic eruption. We had another major volcanic eruption. This volcano right here, Krasheninnikov, erupted. This erupted up to about 25,000 feet high. The volcano itself was about 5,800 feet high. The volcano erupted up to 25,000 plus feet high. Okay, major eruption. So now we've had two volcanic eruptions after major earthquakes. We talked about this before as well. You can't have volcanic eruptions without subduction, and you cannot have subduction without volcanic eruptions. That's what's happened. You can't have volcanoes without subduction. You can't have subduction without volcanoes. We've had two volcanic eruptions here. Why am I talking about this? Why do you think I'm talking about this, guys? Let me draw back to where we were last year, or even the year before, even 5 years ago. What were we talking about then? Can anybody tell me what we were talking about then? Let's drop down here to the USGS map. I want to refresh your memories of what we were talking about a year ago, 2, 3, 5 years ago. Let's take a look at that. Let me take down our banner. Well, let's take down our webcam as well. I want to show you. Okay. Now, what we're showing you here is the USGS map here. Desert Vet just gave us an EMA 1 membership. Desert 1 Vet, welcome. Or Desert Vet, welcome. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being a member of our program here. Very much appreciated. Here we have all of the earthquakes that happened off the southeast coast of Kamchatka Peninsula. With that plate rupture, we've had aftershocks, haven't we? Let's go over here. I'm sorry. Let's go over here east across the Pacific here. Let's go east across the Pacific. Let's go over here to the Cascadia subduction area. We've been talking about the Cascadia subduction area for quite some time. Okay? We told you 5.5 years ago that we were expecting a Cascadia megathrust earthquake to hit here. Sometime probably at that point in time, we thought it might be 2 years away. As it turns out, it wasn't. You can't predict seismic energy. You can't predict earthquakes. You can't predict volcanic eruptions. Okay? But we've had enough seismic energy that has been building up here and building up here and building up here. Now, I can't predict the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. However, there is sufficient evidence to say that there is a very good possibility that we may see the Cascadia earthquake happen here within the next 5 years. 5 years. What is a Cascadia megathrust earthquake? It will be a 10.0 earthquake. It will be a 9.0 to a 10.0 major earthquake. Happening right in this area right here. Between the Cascadia subduction zone off the coast of Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, and Vancouver Island, right here between the Cascadia subduction zone, the earthquake fault, running north and south away from Haida Gwaii, all the way down to Northern California, or between the Juan de Fuca fault out here, the zigzag fault that also runs up to Haida Gwaii, zigzagging all the way down through the Cascadia subduction zone region. Okay, all the way down here. It zigzags down here to what we call the Blanco fracture zone. The Blanco fracture zone. This fracture zone runs to the northwest to the southeast. The Blanco fracture zone connects to what we call the Gorda Ridge. The Gorda Ridge. The Gorda Ridge runs from the northeast to the southwest. It connects down here with what we call the Gorda Escarpment. The Gorda Escarpment runs further out into the Pacific Ocean here, as you can see. But it also runs over here towards the Northern California coast. You see out here where the Cascadia subduction zone meets with the Gorda Escarpment? That's how the Juan de Fuca plate is connected to the Cascadia subduction zone here. When we have the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happen, that seismic energy is going to be felt all the way up here into Alaska. All the way up here to Alaska. It's also going to be felt all the way down here to northern Mexico. Okay? But what did we find out last week? There is also another megathrust earthquake zone. There's another megathrust earthquake zone, and it is right here, Haida Gwaii, or what they used to call Queen Charlotte Island. Now they call it Haida Gwaii. This earthquake fault that you see here on the west side of Haida Gwaii is what they call now the Haida Gwaii megathrust earthquake zone. What we see here is going to happen here as well as down here along the Cascadia subduction zone. They fully expect a 8.5 to a 9.0 earthquake just west of Haida Gwaii on this fault zone, on the same fault zone. Major earthquake. We talked earlier, and we've talked about this last week when we found out about it. When this earthquake goes, when we get an 8.5 to 9.0 earthquake here, the subduction zone runs so close to Haida Gwaii that they are expecting a tsunami as a result of that earthquake happening. And because that earthquake zone is so close to Haida Gwaii, the people who live here on Haida Gwaii aren't really going to have a chance to evacuate. The tsunami will hit within 5 to 7 minutes after the earthquake ends shaking. Now, I'm not talking about aftershocks. I'm talking about the main shaker, the main subduction quake that's going to happen here. What buildings are left standing will get hit with a tsunami wave. People need to go to high ground. Now, it's unknown right now at this point in time how high this tsunami wave is going to be. But many of the scientists are saying it's going to be 90 feet high, anywhere between 50 to 90 feet high, knocking out telephone traffic, knocking over cars, completely swamping buildings and homes in this area. Total devastation, unless people are high enough where they're not going to be hurt. Okay? Again, what happened over at Kamchatka Peninsula last week? What happened at Kamchatka Peninsula last week? We had a megathrust earthquake there. That earthquake sent a tsunami across the entire Pacific Basin, up to Alaska, where they had a 3-foot tsunami wave there. Over Hawaii, where we had about a 3-foot tsunami wave there. Over here to North America, Canada and the United States of America on the West Coast. Canada had anywhere from 3 inches to 12-inch tsunami wave, depending on the height of the high tide. Down here on the west coast of the United States, pretty much the same thing, except down in Crescent City, California. They had a 3'7" tsunami wave here. Yes, it did some damage. It did not do sufficient enough damage to cause immediate despair, but it did do damage there. Unlike other tsunami waves and high tide waves, they missed the bullet. They missed the bullet on this, as did everywhere else. Over here in Hawaii, they missed the bullet here. They evacuated Honolulu. They evacuated Honolulu and Waikiki. They went to higher ground. Everybody got lucky. At first, there was major traffic jam trying to get out of Dodge, trying to get out of Waikiki and Honolulu. But they missed a bullet here. The tsunami wave wraps around each one of the islands here. It's not called a wave, it's a series of waves. The tsunami waves wrap around each of the islands here, including Maui here. Also over here, the Big Island. They also missed the big one here. It could have been much worse. The tsunami waves made their way south. They made their way south to Japan, to North and South Korea here, all the way down here to China, Taiwan, down here to Southeast Asia, down here to the Philippines, over here into Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, down even here into Australia, and even over here into the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, and down here into New Zealand. They missed a big one here as well. The tsunami went over here to South America as well. A 1 foot wave down here in South America, any one country down here. Over here in Central America, they got a 15-inch wave. Central America. Mexico as well, 12 to 15-inch wave. The entire Pacific Basin missed the bullet here. Could have been much worse. But what I'm telling you about now is what's going to happen. What's going to happen? Over here, we are going to continue to see aftershocks here. Months, years, probably. I think these earthquakes are going to continue to happen, not just weeks, but months and years. Why do I say that? Let me go over here to Turkey and Syria border region. Back in February 3rd, 2023. February 3rd, 2023. We had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here, right in this area. That earthquake killed 5,000 plus people and injured over 5,000 others. That earthquake also left a huge gaping hole in Turkey. A huge fissure opened up, 12 miles long and 8 stories deep. An 8-story building could have fit in that fissure. That's what happens when we have these kinds of major earthquakes. Let's go back to several years ago. Several years ago down here in Antarctica. Myself and one of my colleagues at the time saw an earthquake that hit here early one morning. I don't remember the exact date, but I could go back in my data and I could find it. We talked about it. We showed everybody that the earthquake hit here. Major 9.0 earthquake hit here. USGS denied it happened. They denied it happened. But several months later, a plane flying over this area found a great big huge 14-mile long fissure. A 14-mile long fissure that had opened up here in the ice as a result of that 9.0 earthquake here. It's happened before. It's going to happen again and again and again. They don't happen frequently, but when they do happen, they have a major effect on everything and everyone around it. It's going to happen again. As we said last week, as we talked about last week over here in Haida Gwaii, we now have a megathrust earthquake fault that has developed here. Before they said it was a strike slip fault, now they're saying otherwise. They're saying otherwise. Let me bring up my webcam here so I can show you what a strike slip fault and a megathrust fault is. A strike slip fault is like this, much like the San Andreas fault. The fault slides just like this. The Cascadia earthquake fault, what does it do? Okay, what does it do? Be Real Beast just gave us a $5 super chat. I want to thank Be Real Beast for that. I'm giving you an EMA sticker on your super chat, and I'm also giving you a thumbs up for that donation. We appreciate that $5 donation. Thank you so much. What happens here, guys? What happens here when we have a Cascadia type of earthquake, Haida Gwaii earthquake, or whatever it might be? We saw it happen this past week when the Kamchatka earthquake hit. Okay, it changed the ocean floor. It changed the ocean floor. Part of the floor went up and part of it went down just like this. Went down. Then the ocean water leaves the shoreline, doesn't it? Ocean water leaves the shoreline to fill that gap where the ocean bottom went down. All of a sudden, when that water gets out there, it hits the gap in the ocean. It hits that huge hole in the ocean. Then the power of that wave goes back out like this. Goes out like this and starts racing for the shoreline. That's exactly what happened at Kamchatka Peninsula this past week. A race for the shoreline. There was a tsunami, a 6-foot tsunami. I think it was a 6-foot to 7-foot tsunami that hit the Kamchatka Peninsula and flooded the area. The people living on the Kamchatka Peninsula missed the bullet. Fortunately for them, yes, some buildings get flooded. Some boats got damaged. But because the Kamchatka Peninsula is sparsely populated, nobody's killed, nobody was even hurt. Slight property damage. But what happens here at Haida Gwaii, or what happens here when the Cascadia megathrust earthquake opens up off of Vancouver Island, Seattle-Tacoma area? What happens? Millions of people live here. Millions of people live here. Probably 10,000 people live here on Haida Gwaii. What happens there? People are going to become unalived. People are going to get hurt. Down here, the same thing is going to happen, but it's going to multiply. This area is not sparsely populated. It is heavily urban populated. What's going to happen? A lot of people are going to become unalived. USGS puts the numbers at 1,500 people killed and thousands of people injured. I personally think there's going to be a lot, the numbers are going to be triple or quadruple that. I don't believe the USGS is even thinking what's going to happen. I think their numbers highly inflated. We've seen these earthquakes happen over in Turkey. Turkey and Syria border region doesn't have half the population that we have here. Not even close to it. They had 5,000 people killed in Turkey. How many people are going to be killed here? How many people are going to be injured? What kind of property damage is going to happen here? It's going to be massive. It's going to be massive. What are we doing to help us? What are we doing to help prepare ourselves for what's going to happen? Unlike Haida here, where the tsunami waves are going to hit here within minutes after the earthquake. And then the shaking is going to continue. They're going to have aftershock after aftershock here. The same thing applies down here in the Cascadia region. The exact same thing happens down here in the Cascadia region. But the numbers are going to be highly inflated from even Kamchatka or Haida. It's going to be unreal. It's going to be unreal. And what is the USGS telling us about? What are they telling us about what's going to happen right now? What is happening right now? Let me show you. Let's go over here to Western Washington. Let me take down my webcam here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here, Western Washington. This is Forks, Washington, just inland from the coast. This is a 1.2 tremor. What they're not telling you about, there are hundreds of tremors up and down this coastline. Hundreds of tremors. But they're not showing that to you, are they? They're not showing it to you at all. In just a few minutes, I'm going to show you all the earthquakes that have happened here today. Today. Let's go up here to the north here. This is Hamilton, Washington. USGS has this as a 0.8 microquake. 0.8 microquake here. 3.7 miles deep. Fascinating, but no cigar. Let's drop further down here to the Olympic Peninsula here. Keyport, Washington. They have this as a 0.7 microquake here. Fascinating, but no cigar. Let's go further south here. I want to go east to Mount Rainier here. This is a 0.9 microquake here, just outside of Niles, Washington. Just barely outside of Niles, Washington. This is 1/10 of a mile deep. Right here to the west here. This is 1.3 tremor. 11 miles southwest of Niles, Washington. Interesting. Let's go over here to Mount Rainier. They're showing us 2 tremors here. This is a 0.4 microquake here. 0.4 of a mile deep. Just over here on the south rim here, also a 0.4 microquake. This is 1/3 of a mile deep. Interesting, but no cigar. What I'm about to show you is this. I'm going to show you probably several hundred microquakes and aftershocks. Not aftershocks. I'm going to show you several hundred microquakes and tremors, and then I'm going to show you some minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9. I'm going to show you some large earthquakes, 3.0 plus. Yeah, at Mount Rainier. They don't want us to know about, do they? They're certainly not going to show it. Further down here to the southwest from Mount Rainier here, this is a 1.2 tremor here, 7 miles north of Morganton, Washington. Just south here, This is a 0.9 microquake here. Just over here on the northern shores of Rifle Lake. Rifle Lake. That strikes a familiar tune. Why? Because our friend Captain Ned has fished here at Rifle Lake, looking at Mount Rainier from Rifle Lake. Microquakes, 0.9 microquake, 1.0 tremor. Yes, when we see anything 0.9, I usually raise it up 1 point because it's usually that way, because USGS downgrades everything. This being a 0.9 microquake, probably a 1.0 tremor. Nonetheless, it did no damage, but it is seismicity here. It is definitely seismicity. But again, they're not showing much of anything, are they? Not anything at all. They're bad. Down here, just north of Portland, this is a 1.5 tremor here. 2 miles northwest of Fern Prairie, Washington. We go further south here into Oregon. They say this is a 1.6 explosion here. Fascinating. Fascinating, USPS. A 1.6 tremor explosion. You know what I have to say about that? Spontaneous combustus carnivorous, an exploding tree. Why do I say that? Let's look closely at where this earthquake is. It's in a forested area. It's in a forested area. South of Gold Creek here. 2 miles south of Fort Hill, Oregon. Interesting. It's also a third of a mile deep. There is no way in heck that this was an explosion 1/3 of a mile deep. Sorry, there are no quarries here. There are no quarries here unless they're exploding a bunch of trees to harvest here. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. Again, it's just one more thing that the USGS can lie to us about. One more thing that the USGS can lie to us about. They don't want us to know the truth of what is going on here. They don't. They don't have a clue. Just right before we go into see the seismographs showing you exactly what happened here today. Let's go over here to the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone region. Over here in Northern California. Right here on the San Andreas Fault. You see the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake fault here? It connects with the Gorda Escarpment down here. It also connects with what? The San Andreas Fault. It's called the triple junction here. Down here on the San Andreas Fault, we have a 2.2 minor earthquake here. 2.2 minor earthquake, 11 miles west-northwest of Petrolia, California. Just east of there on the Mendocino Fault. Mendocino Fault runs from the Gorda Escarpment here and runs east into California here, the Mendocino Fault. This is a 2.0 earthquake 6 miles east of Petrolia, California on the Mendocino Fault. North there we have another earthquake, Ferndale, California. A 2.5 earthquake in Ferndale, California. What is that? What is that? Remember just a few years ago, just off the coast of Ferndale, California? What do we have? We had a 6.9 earthquake. Back then I said it was a 7.2 and I proved it was a 7.2 earthquake. That earthquake caused damage here on land here in Ferndale, California. Rio Dell, California, just east of that, southeast of there. And all the way down here into Petrolia, California. Damage all over this place. The shaking caused damage. Okay? That earthquake is also, as you see, in part of the Cascadia subduction zone region. The Cascadia subduction zone region. All of these earthquakes that you see here are in the Cascadia subduction zone region. Okay? So we have some minor earthquakes down here to the south. All of this stuff is either tremors or a bad slated explosion. It was not an explosion, it was a tremor. But so far you see all this is either tremors or microquakes. Fascinating, but no cigar here. By no cigar, I'm saying false information. False information. Because they don't know their head from a hole in the ground. If they did, they'd be honest with all of us. Fact. They can't. I don't think they have the knowledge to be able to do that. Right here, I just brought up the tremor map. The tremor map from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Look at these tremors. All it's showing here are tremors on what? The Olympic Peninsula. The Olympic Peninsula. Up at the northern part of this tremor map here, where the tremors end up here. What is that? That's also a volcano. The Olympic volcano here. Look at all the tremors here. Guys, there are 117 tremors here and here today. On the Olympic Peninsula, most of them. Down here in north central Oregon, right there. Tremors, 1.2, 1.1, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, and 1.8 tremors. All of them. That's what all these are. But what the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and the USGS don't show us. There are hundreds of other tremors and earthquakes that have hit this area. This entire area, not just here where they want us to see, but the entire area. Let's take a look at some of those right now. Right here, right now. Let's go start down in the south with LC, Oregon. Look at this, LC, Oregon, guys. Let me reduce the size of this map or this diagram so I can show you what's going on. You've got a brief sample of that just now. I'm trying to reduce the size of this so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. Look at this, guys. The top of this seismogram here, the seismogram is a computer readout from the seismograph. The seismograph is a machine. This is a computer readout from the seismograph that is recording data from earthquakes, from sensors in the ground. What's happening here in LC, Oregon? Look at all the tremors here. Yes, there are some microquakes here. You can see the difference between tremors and microquakes. They stand out. These smaller earthquakes, especially here at the top, we're going to show you here. I'm going to take special time to show you what's going on. Again, the top line of this seismograph starts off at 5 p.m. yesterday evening. Okay, each line here represents a 20-minute time period. That's what we're going to show you tonight. Okay, the top line here was showing you some microquakes and some tremors. The small blips are tremors. What you see here on each line is called pulsed magma or magma pulse signals, where the line is thinner or thicker. The thicker the line is, more magma coming across the magma chamber. This is not a volcano. but magma coursing through the ground towards the volcanoes. That's what we're seeing here. The microquakes and the tremors are the vertical lines or blips on each line here. Microquakes or small blips are tremors here. The longer lines here you see are minor earthquakes. For example, over here on the left-hand side on the red line here, the first red line here. Actually, the second. The first red line is over off the top of the black line. That's a fault line here. That red line should come after the black line. Okay, so we're talking now about the second red line here. That is a 1.8, 1.9 tremor. Go further over here to the right on the blue line. This blue line is after 6:30 p.m. yesterday evening. Now we see here a 2.0 earthquake. So now you see a relative idea of where we're at here. We've shown you microquakes, we've shown you tremors, and we've shown you minor earthquakes, 2.0 and larger earthquakes here. That's what we're seeing here. There are no 3.0 earthquakes on this seismogram right here. Let's go further over here to the center on that same blue line. Okay, in the center here at the top. This is a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake, minor earthquake. And that's the largest earthquake we see here. All the rest are either 2.0, 2.7, or down to 1.1, 1.2 tremors here. This is LC Oregon. They're not showing us, are they? They showed one microquake in Oregon. I've already showed you probably several hundred, as well as tremors and minor earthquakes here. That's just LC Oregon. That's just LC Oregon. Let's go over to Ferndale, Washington. Over to the north to Ferndale, Washington. Look here, guys. This near Delta, Washington. Delta, Washington. Before I show you this, let's go and show you where Delta, Washington is. Actually, I think I showed that to you last week. It's down along the west coast of Washington. Down along the west coast of Washington. Okay? Look at the earthquakes here. This is unreal, guys. Up at the top on the black line here, right below that red line. That black line represents 5 p.m. over on the left-hand side. The red top line is 5:15. The blue line after that is 5:30. The next black line is 6 p.m., 1800. You see 17, that is 1700 military time here. 18 is 1800, 6 p.m. and on. What you're seeing here are mostly minor tremors. Minor tremors. 1.0 to 1.9 tremors. However, on the second red line to the right center up here near the top, that is a 2.4 earthquake. Going down here to the red line here in the center, where you see this vertical line here, this red vertical line. That is a 2.5 earthquake there. You can see other tremors here. Where you see the thicker lines, that is magma coming into the magma chamber where this is. It's on the ground, just beneath the ground that you're walking on. Magma chambers beneath the ground you're walking on. You never thought you'd see or hear about that, did you? Those of you that live in this area, you may have felt the ground move. You may have felt the ground pulse. The ground pulsing is magma going through the ground where you are and going towards the volcanoes. The magma moving towards the volcanoes here. We heard Captain Ned talk about this last Thursday. Magma pulsing, hydraulics. Now we get down here to the ward towards the bottom of this seismograph. All of a sudden it gets very busy, doesn't it? It absolutely does. What happens then? We have a great deal of magma coursing through the ground here, pumping through the ground. And as it does that, we see these vertical lines. These vertical lines are caused by magma fracturing the rock inside the magma chamber that you're walking on. The same ground that you're walking on, the magma is in the ground, fracturing rock inside the magma chamber, causing earth movement. That's what you see here. Now, on the blue line towards the bottom here, on the left-hand side, you see some earthquakes happening. You see some earthquakes happening. To be specific, we go out here to the right, just minutes after 11 a.m. this morning. Approximately 11:04 a.m. this morning, we have a 2.7, 2.8 minor earthquake. 2.7, 2.8 minor earthquake. Then, over here on the right-hand side in the center, I shouldn't say in the right-hand side, but in the center red line here. This is 12:15 on the left-hand side. So we come over here. This would be 12:08 p.m. this afternoon. I'm sorry, no, 12:23 this afternoon. It's on the red line. On the left-hand side, it would be 12:15. So we get over here, it'll be 12:23. 12:23 this afternoon. We had a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake hit here on this red line. 12:23 this afternoon. On the blue line above it, 11:30 this morning, over on the left-hand side. This over here is approximately 11:41 a.m. this morning. That is a 2.5, 2.6 earthquake. See what I'm talking about? We have tremors and we have minor earthquakes all over these areas. All this busyness that you see here is caused by magma coming in through the magma chamber that's coursing through the ground, and it's busy. It's pressurized magma. Magma under pressure forcing its way through the ground here, causing these earthquakes and tremors. That's what's going on. And this is just Ferndale, Washington. Let's show you some more here. I want to go over to Grays Harbor to the north, the northern part of the Puget Sound region. Grays Harbor. What do we see here? Look at the top of this seismogram here. At the top, again, the red line superimposed here is about 5:15 yesterday evening. The black line beneath that, that is 5 o'clock p.m. Should be backwards, the other way. Black line on top, red line under that. But they've not done that here. But look at that. It's a completely solid red and black line. Completely solid. That means we had magma coursing through the magma chamber where this is at. Grays Harbor. About 5 or 6 weeks ago, we had a 5.1 earthquake here. A 5.1 earthquake. Magma coming off the Pacific Ocean into Grays Harbor here, headed for the volcano. That's what's happening here. Now over here, just about, let me enlarge this so you can see what I'm talking about. See this jumbled up area here? Just after about 9:30 last night? Guess what? 6.5 earthquake, Kamchatka Peninsula. 6.5 earthquake, Kamchatka Peninsula. It's not showing any longer. That's because USGS doesn't show earthquakes after 24 hours. They don't show earthquakes after 24 hours. The only way you're going to see these earthquakes is here on the seismographs. That's what happened last night. 6.5 earthquake here. Unreal. Unreal. Then below that, we see a bunch of tremors. We also see some minor earthquakes. On the left-hand side, 1.8, 1.9 tremor. Going over here to the right on that red line here, another 1.6, 1.7 tremor. Further over to the right, a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. About a minute later, over on the right-hand side, I shouldn't say the right-hand side, on the center left here, we have a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Further over here to the left, we have a blob of magma, don't we? We have vertical lines coming out of it. Tremors, guys. Whether it's a minor tremor or whether it is a minor earthquake, that is magma forcing its way through the rock, fracturing the rock inside the magma chamber here. Grays Harbor, Washington. Down here, you see a lot of seismic activity. This is the magma coming through the magma chambers here under pressure, headed for the volcanoes. Minor earthquakes, here are all of them. Minor earthquakes and tremors, here are all of them. Grays Harbor, Washington. I'm going to show you a couple more to make you understand exactly what's going on. I want to go over to Long Beach, Washington. Long Beach, Washington. This is where the Washington State Fish and Game Office is. Washington State Law Enforcement Fish and Game Office is here. Long Beach, Washington. Before I show you this seismogram right here, let's go over here and take a look at where this is. Right here on this map. See where Long Beach, Washington is here on the peninsula here? That is where the Washington State Fish and Game Office is. That's where this seismogram is, or seismograph, where this seismogram came from. Right here. Up at the top of this, again, the top red line is 5:15 yesterday evening. The black line after that, 5 p.m. The blue line after that, 5:30 and on and on. Okay? What do you see? All you see are microquakes and tremors. And you see the thicker lines here, which are magma pulse signals. They indicate magma is going through the magma chambers here. Okay? This is right next to the seashore. So magma is coming off the Pacific Ocean here, under the ocean bottom, coming over here to the landmass, North American continent. Look at this. Now again, let's show you this, okay? See where it says 22 on the left-hand side? That is 10 p.m. last night. Before that, you see a lot of activity, don't we? But after that, things calm down for several hours. That's because the seismologists turned down the seismograph. They turned down the seismograph so they don't see anything overnight. Heaven forbid anything happens here. Heaven forbid anything happens here. All you see here are tremors. Guess what? All these tremors that happen here during the night when the seismograph is turned down are actually large earthquakes. They're actually large earthquakes. Because the seismologists don't want anybody to know what's going on. Because they're being told by the politicians, don't let anybody know what's happening. That's a way of taking care of business, not to let anybody know what's going on. But look down here at the bottom. Look down here at the bottom after 6 a.m. this morning. Let me enlarge this so you can see 6 a.m. this morning. 06 on the left-hand side, 6 a.m. Then we go down here to after 12:15 on the bottom red line. All the earthquakes here are tremors except for one. Tremors except for one. Actually two. Over on the far right side here. The far right side, on the left-hand side, it would be 8 a.m. Over here, this is 8:13, 8:14 a.m. this morning. 8:13, we have a 1.5, 1.6 tremor, don't we? About a little over a minute later, we have a 2.0 earthquake. Those are the largest events here on this particular seismograph. Okay? This is right next to the seashore, right next to the ocean. Let me show you Ocean Shores, Washington. That's a little bit north. This is Ocean Shores, Washington. The same thing here is at the Tioga Law Enforcement Division of Fish and Wildlife. Same thing here. Okay? You see 5:15 at the top red line? You see 5 p.m. The thicker red and black lines here are meaningless. They're what they call abstract. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean there's more magma coming into the magma chamber or not. Has no meaning. The people that running the machines put these in here to try to confuse matters. Yes, you see magma coming in under pressure. You see magma pulse signals. More magma coming into the magma chamber, less magma coming into the magma chamber when the lines are thinner. You're seeing tremors here. All kinds of tremors. But here's the bottom. Here's the bottom. On the right-hand side on the red line, what is that? This happens to be at approximately 8, I'm going to say 8:20, no it's not. It would approximately be 8:27, 8:26 a.m. this morning. This is a 2.5 earthquake. On the left-hand side, on the bottom towards that, on the black line, that's also an 8.5, excuse me, not 8.5, sorry. That is a 2.5, 2.6 earthquake, just like this other was a 2.5. On the black line below that after 9 a.m. You see 09 on the left-hand side, that is 9 a.m. We come over here to the center here. That is approximately 9:08 a.m. this morning. In this case, we have another 2.5, 2.6 earthquake. 2.5, 2.6 earthquake. Down on the bottom black line in the center here. This is another 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. Over here on the left on the blue line. On this blue line here. Let me try to enlarge this so you can see what we're seeing. See what we know about here. On this blue line here, this is after 11:30 this morning. Approximately 11:33, we have a 2.0 earthquake. That's what we're showing here. Ocean Shores, Washington. Our friend, Captain Ned, was here. There's great big huge pilings that are drilled into the ground. Great big huge concrete pilings that are drilled into the ground. He was over on top of the breakwater. Guess what? He was feeling this magma coursing through the magma chamber here. He felt this magma course through the magma chamber here, just like hydraulics. He felt it. He told me about it. That's what we know is happening here at Ocean Shores. Guys, we have a ton of magma headed for the volcanoes. We have a ton of magma headed for the volcanoes. Let me close this up because I want to show you what's happening at the volcanoes now. I want to show you what is happening at the volcanoes right now. Here. This is Mount Baker. This is just south of the US-Canada border, Mount Baker. As we said before, this is nothing but harmonic tremors. Harmonic vibrations caused by magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Baker. This is all we have at Mount Baker. Why? Because usually we show you an HHN channel, which is actually the channel where we see the magma coming into the magma chamber. The wavy lines called VF waves. Guess what? The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network copied this seismogram onto that very seismogram. They copied and pasted it. There is no difference. They don't want us to know exactly what's going on. Again, there is a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Baker. A lot. Otherwise, we would not be seeing all these harmonic tremors. Harmonic tremors are caused by the vibration of magma coming into the magma chamber of the volcanoes. Harmonic tremors. Mount Baker. What about Glacier Peak? Let's go find Glacier Peak, guys. I think this may blow you away. Look at this. Glacier Peak. They're not showing anything going on here at Glacier Peak. They're not showing hardly anything going on here at Glacier Peak except microquakes and some tremors. That's all they're showing you here. That's all they want us to see here at Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak is a big volcano just about 40 miles southwest of Mount Baker. Also notice that same wiggly line here that you see over here just after 9:30 last night. That is that very same earthquake over at Kamchatka Peninsula, just off the coast. A 6.4 earthquake here. But all we've seen here are minor tremors and microquakes. You see some vertical lines here. You see some vertical lines, guys. What are these vertical lines? For the most part, you're not seeing any vertical lines without a dot in the middle. If you see vertical lines here without a dot in the middle of them, they are just steam signals. However, look at this vertical line here over on the right-hand side. That's an earthquake. That's an earthquake at Glacier Peak. Fancy that. This morning. Okay? On the black line here. This is after 10 a.m. here. We drop down here. This is approximately 10:13 a.m. this morning. That is a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake here at Glacier Peak. What the seismologists have done here at the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and being told by the USGS to do is take off the earthquakes. They have actually deleted earthquakes off of this seismograph. They've completely deleted the earthquakes off the seismograph, and on the seismogram, it hardly shows us any activity. Glacier Peak is an active volcano. It's an active volcano. And yet USGS will have us to believe that nothing's going on. I told you this before. 3 years ago, they were supposed to put up another 5 seismographs on Glacier Peak. They still not have done it. Why not? Because they have marmots on Glacier Peak. And the environmentalists don't want those marmots harmed. Oh, heaven forbid we put 4 more or 5 more seismographs on the mountain. Oh, it might disturb the marmots' mating season. Oh, it might disturb their living. I don't think the scientists want to disturb their living or disturb their mating habits. But they want to put these seismographs up here to better tell us what's going on with this volcano. Yes, folks, there's a lot more activity than they're showing us here. They don't want us to believe anything. Oh, nothing's happening there at Glacier Peak. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. All we're seeing here are some microquakes, some tremors, and a couple minor earthquakes. That's it. This 2.8, 2.9 over here on the center right, and this one over here on this blue line here, which is after 11:30, approximately 11:02. No, 11:03. 11:03 a.m. a 1.9 tremor here. That's all that's here at Glacier Peak at all. Nothing more. Nothing more. They don't want us to believe anything's going on. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid we know what's happening. Let's drop down over here to Mount Rainier. Good old Mount Rainier. Yes, Mount Rainier is more active. A lot more active. Let me show you Camp Muir. Camp Muir and Camp Sherman here. Camp Muir is over on the north side of the volcano, and Camp Muir or Camp Sherman is on the south side. Look at this. Look at this. Look at all this tremor activity here. There are no minor earthquakes here at all. This is either microquakes or tremors, nothing more, nothing less. Microquakes and tremors. And look what they did after approximately 10 p.m. last night. They started turning it down. Yes, we start seeing some activity after midnight last night on the black line above here. But it's hardly disturbed. The seismic energy doesn't start registering itself until approximately 12:11 last night, 12:11 this morning. And the largest here is a minor earthquake here on the left-hand side on the blue line. 1:30 this morning. 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. And this seismic energy lasted for about 15 seconds. It's not going to be felt because it's at the volcano, number one. Number two, it's a minor earthquake. Nobody here is going to feel that minor earthquake shaking. But after that, the seismic energy is totally tuned down. Now, just above this 12 a.m. here, they turned the seismograph down here just after 10 p.m. Between 10 and midnight, it's not showing hardly any activity until just before approximately 10:14 a.m. or 12:14 a.m. this morning, and over here after 12:30. Not going to show anything. What happened? They turned the seismograph way down. What is this 2.4, 2.5 earthquake? Probably a 3.0 earthquake here. Probably a 3.0 earthquake considering they turned down the seismograph. they turned down the seismograph. So we probably have at least a 3.0 earthquake here this morning, early. But right after that, they make sure that we don't see anything. Nothing more at all until after 7 a.m. this morning. They turned it down and off. This is what this agency has been doing for time immemorial. They turn the seismographs down so that it doesn't show anything. Heaven forbid anybody see what's going on. This is an active volcano. Mount Rainier, for all intents and purposes, is beginning to show signs of a possible eruption. This is Camp Muir. Let's go over and take a look at Camp Sherman. Look at this, guys. This is a little bit different. This is a bit different. On this diagram, we're seeing almost everything that's going on. I say almost everything. Up at the top again, this is 5 p.m. on the top line. 5 p.m. yesterday on the top line. Now you see this big red symbol here. That is called a magma churn signal. The magma churn signals are supposed to be 23 to 24 lines high. This one is just barely 8 lines high. I counted it. That means the seismograph itself, the machine, has been turned down to only show us 30% of real activity. 30% of real activity. Real world. Real world. Now, for the most part, this signal on the left-hand side is a very thin rectangle. But over on the right, you see vertical lines here. Those vertical lines are steam signals. Mount Rainier is steaming. Mount Rainier is steaming. Also, this magma churn signal is only 8 lines high. So it's only showing us 30% of real world. They're only showing us 30% of real world, which I believe is the same case with each and every one of the seismographs. They do not want us to see the truth, so they're turning the machines down to at least 30% of real world. That way, if they see something, they can kind of adequately guess what it is. That's where they're at. Now you see some other vertical lines here with dots in them. Those are earthquakes. Those are earthquakes. Now, just below this magma churn signal, on the blue line on the left-hand side. This blue line on the left-hand side here is approximately 12:34 a.m. this morning. 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. We come across here to the black line or the red line here in the middle, just below that magma churn signal. That is a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Over on the right, one line above it on the blue line. This is a 3.0 earthquake. Just as it is, it shows a 3.0 earthquake. But remember that this seismograph has been turned down to only show us 30% of real world, 33% of real world. Which means these earthquakes are probably twice or 3 times the size that they are. This 3.0 is actually 3.5, 3.7 earthquake. 3.5, 3.7 earthquake. This earthquake could have been felt. This earthquake should have been felt. Okay? You see all kinds of minor tremors and minor earthquakes here. Down here on this black line here, you see a 3.3, 3.4 earthquake. Small earthquake, but large enough to feel. 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 earthquake. This earthquake happened after 7:05 a.m. this morning. 3.3 earthquake here. Okay? But again, this seismograph's been turned down, so we probably are seeing a 3.8 to 4.0 earthquake. 3.8 to 4.0 earthquake here. That's what's actually happening here. Any questions? This is Mount Rainier. Now for time element here, I want to compress some time here. I want to make sure we get out of here within a reasonable hour. We start just after 4 p.m. today. I want to end before 6 p.m. Just before 2 hours comes up. Let's jump down to Mount St. Helens. Let us jump down to Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens is southeast of Mount Hood. At Mount St. Helens, we have a different perspective, don't we? Let's start off with East Dome Mount St. Helens. East Dome Mount St. Helens is actually, the seismograph is actually sitting on top of the big, huge lava rock plug from Mount St. Helens the last time it erupted. East Dome Mount St. Helens. What are we seeing here? We're seeing some minor earthquakes, aren't we? Absolutely are. Yes, you see some tremors here. Also, you see some horizontal lines here that have some magma showing here. Again, magma pulse signals. Yes, we're seeing some tremors. Over on the right-hand side on the black line here, up at the top, that is a tremor, guys. That is a tremor. This happened after 10:22 a.m. this morning. Approximately 10:14 a.m. this morning. That is a 1.9 tremor here. 1.9 tremor. Over on the right-hand side on this black line again. This happened after 5:14 a.m. this morning. Actually, 5:19 a.m. this morning. Another 1.5, 1.6 tremor. We jump down to the next blue line here. You see some more tremors here. They're off to the right there. Guess what? This is a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake caused by magma. This is a 2.6, 2.8 earthquake here caused by magma. Magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. Yes, you see here some magma blobs. Magma blobs here. Some of these magma blobs have lines running running vertical through here. Those are tremors caused by the magma fracturing rock in the magma chamber here of the volcano. Let's take another look at Mount St. Helens from a different perspective. This time from another seismograph sitting on spindly legs on the top of Mount St. Helens in the caldera. This is called September lobe. September lobe. Let me choose September lobe right now. Now this is the seismogram you're seeing from September lobe. It also includes all those earthquakes we showed you from over at East Dome. We're showing you more activity here. More activity. What I believe has happened here is that the seismologist edited off the earthquakes from the other seismograph. Because these seismographs is only sitting like 15 or 20 feet apart. So on the East Dome Mount St. Helens, they edited off or erased earthquakes here at the top of Mount St. Helens. You're seeing more earthquakes. You're seeing more earthquakes, minor earthquakes. We have no 3.0 earthquakes here. These are all minor earthquakes at Mount St. Helens. Again, this is more information. We have more tremors and more earthquakes on this particular seismograph. Now let's jump down to the wavy line seismogram, which is actually called the BDF-CC01. The BDF-CC01 seismogram at Mount St. Helens is from a seismograph that is 5-channel seismograph, a 5-channel seismograph. Let's take a look at September lobe BDCC01, which is the VLF channel, the VLF wave channel. These wavy lines here are called very low frequency lines, VLF for short. What's happening here? The busier these wavy lines here, the more magma that's coming into the magma chamber at Mount St. Helens. We saw those other two seismographs. They pretty much this time line up with this seismogram is showing. We see a lot of busy lines here, magma coming into the magma chamber very fiercely, and as a result, we have earthquakes, don't we? Magma coming into the magma chamber causing earthquakes, rock fracturing inside the magma chamber of this particular seismograph, or this particular volcano. That's what's going on. Jay Hart says, yep, getting spicy. Ivy Randall Gooch says a record 80 volcanoes are now going off. Yes, 80 volcanoes now going off, guys. Pretty soon we're going to see at least one or two more. At least one or two more here. Yes, it is very possible that we might see a volcano over in Haida Gwaii or over in British Columbia, Canada, go off, as well as Mount Rainier and or Mount St. Helens very soon. All this activity points to that end. All this activity here points to that end. They can try to deny it, but we see it happening. This amount of activity at Mount St. Helens proves it. This kind of magma activity here proves it. Any questions here? Any questions? Now, just briefly, I want to take you over to Mount Hood. Mount Hood is over in northern Oregon, north central Oregon. Look what's happening here at Mount Hood. This is Palmer Lift on the upper north-south side of the volcano. The upper south side of the volcano, up at the top. You see magma coming into the magma chamber here. That happened last night. This seismogram here covers everything from 5 p.m. last night until 5 a.m. this afternoon. I pulled this seismogram at approximately 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is actually, no, I didn't. I pulled this at 3:30 Eastern Time, which is 12:30 Pacific Time. Up at the top, we've seen harmonic tremors, a brief respat of high harmonic tremors. Then the harmonic tremors even out. They stop. All of a sudden, we see some magma coming into the magma chamber. You see horizontal lines here called magma pulse signals. You see some activity of magma coming into the magma chamber at this particular volcano, Mount Hood. We also see vertical lines, earthquakes happening because of rock fracturing from the magma coming through the magma chamber of this volcano. The magma coming in under pressure causes earthquakes. That's what we see here. Down at the bottom, we get harmonic tremors where the amount of magma going into the magma chamber evens out, called harmonic tremors. Harmonic tremors. One more seismogram here at Mount Hood, and I'll finish this presentation. This is timberline. This seismograph is located at Government Camp at the base of Mount Hood on the south side. Up at the top, you see some magma coming into the magma chamber. Last night. But what happened after midnight? They turned the seismograph off. Or I'm sorry, they don't turn it off, they turn it way down. They turn it way down so we don't see what's going on. Look at that, right after midnight. Right after midnight. Again, that wavy line here is at least a 5.0, I'm sorry, 6.2, 6.4 earthquake that happened last night at Kamchatka Peninsula. 6.2, 6.4 earthquake at Kamchatka Peninsula last night. That's what that little wavy line is. All of the rest of this activity is at Mount Hood. Tremor activity for the most part. But again, after midnight, they turned the seismograph off or way down. Then they started up again. Starts up again. But before it starts up in reality, we're starting to see some minor tremors here. Those tremors are coming from the turn down. Those tremors are coming through the turn down, meaning that seismic activity is a little more powerful than the turn down. That seismic activity is a little more powerful than the turn down. It might actually be a 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake over here on the left-hand side here. Then after 8 a.m., all of a sudden, they are allowing us to see what happens again. Harmonic tremors, guys. This is harmonic tremors here about Hood. Okay? Any questions? Thunderbird Signs, it's good to see you here. Thunderbird Signs, Diana says, lightning took out her power. She had to leave for a bit. Coming to rewatch later, freaking storm. Yeah. We had the same thing happen last week. And we have another, I'm seeing right out my office window here. I'm seeing storm clouds move in here. We're supposed to get some rain tonight. Do you guys have any questions about what we're seeing here? I've briefly taken you for a jog around the world. Guys, I showed you earlier New Zealand. No earthquakes. There are a ton of earthquakes in New Zealand. However, they don't want you to see them. There are some earthquakes in Fiji and Tonga. They don't want you to see them. I believe we may have had 2 minor earthquakes, one in southwestern Australia and one in northwestern Australia. Yeah. They're not showing them to us. We have earthquakes in the Philippines. We have earthquakes in Japan. We have 26 earthquakes in Indonesia. We have 34 earthquakes in South America. But heaven forbid, we'll never see it. Heaven forbid we'll never see it. They don't want to admit that there's activity. I showed you 18 earthquakes in Central America this morning. I showed you 46 earthquakes in southern Mexico. 46 earthquakes in southern Mexico. And in the southernmost part of southern Mexico, there are 4.4, 4.5, and 4.6 moderate earthquakes in southern Mexico, not offshore, but in southern Mexico. Now, what have I told you about that? I said we're waiting for at least another 5.0 to 7.0 earthquake to hit in southern Mexico. When that happens, The next earthquake we're going to see in anywhere down there is going to be in Southern California. Whenever we see another 5.0 to 7.0 in Southern Mexico, it's going to mean the next earthquake is going to be in Southern California. Los Angeles, Imperial Valley, San Diego, or even up along the coast, not the coast, but the San Andreas Fault north of the Imperial Beach area. Okay? I think that's where it's going to be. I think that's where it's going to be. The San Andreas Fault is being very, very powerful. We're seeing earthquakes there. We saw some 3.0 earthquakes there last week. We're going to see some more. Thunderbird Signs just gave us a $10 super chat. I thank you for that. I just gave you an EMA sticker. I'm giving you a thumbs up on your super chat as well. I want to thank you all for that. That means a great deal to me. Folks, if you want to help us support our channel, just at the bottom of this bottom of this program today, the bottom of your screen, you're seeing our Venmo and PayPal addresses flow by. You can give a donation to our PayPal addresses. There are two of those. Please give us a donation to our PayPal addresses. Just below that. Just below that. You see our email address go by? rltnspdema at gmail.com. rltnspdema at gmail.com. You can send us comments, criticisms, even ideas of things you want us to talk about on this program. We will do that. Also in that bottom line, you see our mailing address, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. Again, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. We'd like you to write a letter, or in your card, write a little note in your card telling us what you are doing to prepare for emergencies and disasters in your area. Whether you live in California, Washington, Oregon, or even in Europe, we'd like to know what you're doing. We want to make sure you are preparing for emergencies in your area. We'd like to know that. We like to share the information. We don't want to share names necessarily. I don't think that's necessary. But I want to show you information on what people are doing to prepare themselves for earthquakes and even other disasters. That would be beneficial to our entire community. That's what we do. We share information. We share disaster and emergency information, whether it be a live shooting, whether it be an earthquake, whether it be a storm, however bad that might be. Yes, we're going to have hurricanes very soon that we're going to talk about on this program. Again, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about preparedness on Friday. Fridays, we talk about emergency preparedness every Friday, called Preparedness Friday. So, folks, that's what we have for you tonight. Do we have any questions about anything we talked about? I want to make sure we answer any questions. We had some questions earlier. Demon Catman is putting up a chat here saying I pay hundreds of dollars each month to keep us on the air. I just got through paying my internet bill, $253 for 1 month bandwidth. $253 for 1 month bandwidth. That's a lot of money. You also can help defray that cost by sending money either to our PayPal, our Venmo, probably not a Venmo right now, but our PayPal for sure, or Super Chats, or to our mailing address, again, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina here is 28655. We greatly appreciate it. Guys, I love you. I spend a great deal of time every day talking to you about emergencies and disasters. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the new matter fault. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the new matter fault. If anything else happens around the world, we'll also talk about that. Occasionally, if something major politically happens or we need to talk about it because it might affect in each of our lives around the world, we'll talk about that as well. But tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the new matter fault. Come here loaded with questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions tomorrow evening. Any questions? And Pickering says we have a storm coming in tonight in the UK. We have a storm coming in right now here where we live. Thank you for telling us about that. I'll try to keep my eyes peeled for anything in Britain. We have Demon Catman already there as well. We even have Traveling Vagabond in Ireland. If he shows up, we'd like to see him again as well. Guys, we love you. We cherish our time together. I love each and every one of you very much. If there's anything else we can do for you, we will. Okay? Now, at the end of our programs, we usually leave you with a devotional. I'm going over to the Epistle of Paul to Philemon in the New Testament. I'm going over here to verse 6 and 7. First chapter, verses 6 and 7 of Philemon. That the communication of thy faith may become effectual by the acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in Christ Jesus. For as we have great joy and consolation in thy love, because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee, brother. Philemon was a brother to Paul. Paul taught him. Paul taught him to teach the saints there in Philemon everything about what's going on. That's what he did. But we can liken the scriptures unto us. Let's have our bowels refreshed by our pastors, our teachers, or even people like me, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, all of you. Let's be happy. Let's feel blessed in our lives. Let's feel blessed in our lives that we have together. Take that blessing, take that happiness to your homes, to your families, to your neighbors and friends. Pass this channel on, pass this information you've learned tonight on to your family, your extended family, your neighbors and friends, your social media contacts you have, and also onto the people you work with. Everybody needs to know the message we gave you tonight. I leave this message to you and with great joy in my heart because I love each and every one of you, like I said. May God bless you. We are praying for each one of you. I know many people here have things that they have in their lives that they're trying to overcome. You might have lost family members like Carol. You might have lost other people that you love and care about. You might have individual circumstances that are hard for you to cope with. We're here to pray for you as well. We love you. We pray for you. We ask the Lord to bless you. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back with you same time, same place tomorrow. But if anything happens tonight or in the morning, we'll be back here to tell you about it just like we were this morning. May God bless you. May God protect you as always. May God be with you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again.